On August 30th, 2014, a young woman walked into a parking garage in Plano, Texas, and vanished. Her name was Christina Morris, a 23-year-old with her whole life ahead of her. What followed was a years-long search, a community united in hope, and an investigation that exposed lies, inconsistencies, and a chilling betrayal. This is the story of Christina's life, her disappearance, and the man ultimately convicted in connection with it, Enrique Arochi. Christina Morris was born in 1991 and grew up in Plano, Texas. She was known for her bright smile, sharp wit, and fierce loyalty to the people she loved. Friends described her as the kind of person who remembered birthdays, checked in on people, and made everyone feel included. She was close to her mother, stepmother, and father, a blended family that loved her deeply. Christina had dreams, ambition, and a strong sense of independence. In 2014, she was living in Fort Worth with her boyfriend. She was working, planning her future, and navigating adulthood with determination and optimism. She wasn't perfect, no one is, but she was loved, supported, and grounded, and she had no idea that a simple night out with friends would change everything. On August 29, 2014, Christina returned to Plano for Labor Day weekend. That night, she met up with friends at the Shops at Legacy, a lively entertainment district filled with bars, restaurants, and late night crowds. Among the people there was Enrique, a former high school classmate. They weren't close, but they knew each other well enough to socialize in a group setting. The group spent hours talking, drinking, and catching up. By the early morning hours, people began to leave. Christina stayed behind with a few friends, including Arochi. At 3:55 a.m., surveillance cameras captured Christina and Arochi walking together into a parking garage. Christina walked ahead, steady anywhere. Arochi followed slightly behind her. This footage would become the last confirmed sighting of Christina alive. When Christina didn't show up for plans the next day, her family immediately sensed something was wrong. She wasn't the type to disappear or ignore calls. By August 31st, she was officially reported missing. Plano police began interviewing everyone who saw her that night. Most people cooperated fully, but one person stood out, Enrique Arochi. His story changed multiple times. He claimed he and Christina parted ways inside the garage. He says he didn't know where she went. He said he barely spoke to her. But investigators already had the surveillance footage, and it contradicted him. As the first 48 hours passed, a timeline began to emerge. At 3:55 a.m., Christina and Arochi entered the garage. Between 4 and 4:30 a.m., Arochi's phone activity becomes erratic. The morning of August 30th, Christina misses plans. August 31st, she is reported missing. September 1st, police began focusing on Arochi. The early hours of August 30th would become the most scrutinized moments of the entire case. As the days passed, investigators began piecing together Christina's final known movements. The surveillance footage from the Shops at Legacy Garage became the cornerstone of the case. It showed Christina and Enrique entering the garage at 3:55 a.m., walking side by side. A detail confirmed in multiple sources. But what happened next was a mystery. Arochi told police he and Christina parted ways inside the garage. He claimed she walked off alone, but detectives quickly noticed inconsistencies. His timeline didn't match phone data, his demeanor shifted during questioning, and his story changed with each interview. Investigators began to suspect that Arochi wasn't telling the truth. Detectives obtained a warrant to search Arochi's car, a Chevy Camaro. What they found would become the most damning evidence in the case. Inside the trunk, forensic testing revealed Christina's DNA. This discovery was a turning point. Christina had no reason to be in his trunk. She wasn't close friends with him, she didn't ride with him that night, and she certainly didn't voluntarily climb into the trunk of his car. He had no explanation. Investigators also noticed damage to the front bumper of his car shortly after Christina vanished, unusual phone activity in the early morning hours, a lack of cooperation compared to other witnesses, and the evidence was circumstantial but powerful. While police built their case, Christina's family and the community launched one of the largest volunteer search efforts in Texas history. Hundreds of volunteers searched wooded areas, fields, creeks, and rural land across North Texas. They used drones, horses, dogs, and ATVs. They searched in extreme heat, rain, and cold. They organized search grids, coordinated with law enforcement, and followed every lead. Christina's mother and stepmother became the emotional center of the search, speaking to the media, organizing volunteers, and refusing to let the case fade from public attention. The community's determination kept Christina's story alive. As the investigation progressed, a clearer timeline emerged, one supported by surveillance footage, phone data, and witness statements. Key moments in the case. August 30th, 2014, 3:55 a.m., Christina and Arochi enter the parking garage together. August 31st, 2014, Christina is reported missing. September 2014, police identify Arochi as a person of interest. Late 2014, DNA evidence from Arochi's trunk links him to Christina's disappearance. 2015 to 2016, search efforts continue. Prosecutors prepare their case. September 2016, Arochi is tried and convicted of aggravated kidnapping. This timeline would become the backbone of the prosecution's argument. As investigators dug deeper, Arochi's story continued to fall apart. According to Dateline's coverage, the case involved harrowing details and a complex investigation that exposed contradictions in Arochi's statements. He claimed he barely spoke to Christina that night, that they parted ways immediately, and he had no idea where she went. But the evidence told a different story. Phone data placed him in suspicious locations, DNA placed Christina in his trunk, and the surveillance footage contradicted his claims. By late 2014, investigators were confident Arochi was the last person to see Christina alive. By 2016, the case against Enrique was ready for trial. Even without a body, prosecutors believed the evidence was overwhelming. According to multiple reports, including Dateline's coverage, the investigation had revealed harrowing details about the night Christina vanished. The prosecution's case centered on several key points. Surveillance footage. The last confirmed sighting of Christina was the CCTV footage showing her walking into the parking garage with Arochi at 3:55 a.m. DNA evidence. Christina's DNA was found in the trunk of his Camaro, a discovery he could not explain. Phone data. Cell tower records placed Arochi in suspicious locations after Christina disappeared, contradicting his statements. Inconsistent stories. Arochi's account changed multiple times, and his behavior during questioning raised red flags. Vehicle damage. Investigators noted damage to his Camaro shortly after Christina vanished, damage he could not account for. The defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial. They claimed the DNA could have been transferred indirectly. They insisted there was no proof of violence, no eyewitnesses, and no body. But the jury didn't buy it. After days of emotional testimony, the jury found Enrique Arochi guilty of aggravated kidnapping. He was sentenced to life in prison with parole eligibility decades away. But still one question remained. Where was Christina? For more than 3 years, Christina's family lived in agonizing uncertainty. They held vigils, organized searches, and kept her story alive in the media. Then on March 7, 2018, everything changed. Construction workers clearing land in Anna, Texas, discovered human remains. The area was remote, wooded, and difficult to access, the kind of place someone might choose if they didn't want a body to be found. The Collin County medical examiner confirmed the remains belonged to Christina Morris. The discovery brought heartbreak, but also closure. Christina had finally been found. Her family could bring her home. The location of the remains aligned with areas investigators had long suspected, and with the timeline of Arochi's movements. Though he was never charged with murder, multiple sources confirmed that Arochi remains the person legally held responsible for Christina's disappearance and presumed death. Christina's disappearance changed the Plano community forever. Her family became advocates for missing persons, speaking publicly about the importance of persistence, community involvement, and awareness. Her case was featured on Dateline NBC, See No Evil, and Investigation Discovery. These programs helped keep her story alive and highlighted the role of surveillance footage, forensic science, and community action. Christina's family has continued to honor her memory through advocacy and public awareness efforts. They've spoken about the pain of not knowing, the importance of hope, and the bittersweet relief of finally bringing Christina home. According to multiple sources, including the cinemaholic, Enrique Arochi remains incarcerated, serving a life sentence for aggravated kidnapping. He has never confessed. He has never provided information about what happened that night, and he has never taken responsibility for Christina's death. For Christina's family, justice was served, but answers remain out of reach. Christina Morris was more than a headline. She was a daughter, a friend, and a young woman with dreams and a future. Her disappearance shook a community, but her legacy continues to inspire resilience, unity, and hope. Her story reminds us that even in the darkest moments, people can come together to search, to fight, and to demand justice. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it and would like to see more, please consider giving me a like or giving me a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.